Very good. Call the meeting to order as Community Unit School District number 186, meeting of the Board of Education. It is January 17, 2017, and it is 7 o'clock. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by Mrs. Lane. Oh, I forgot.
That's okay, we'll get to it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, Nancy, since you forgot, would you call the roll?
Mr. Beavers. Here. Dr. Corley.
Here.
Mrs. Lane. Here. Mr. McBride.
Here.
Mrs. Miller. Here. Mr. Runge.
Here.
Mr. Cripps.
Here. We're all the way to item 4. Need the approval of the agenda. Is it good to go, Chief?
Good, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes a bunch of stuff. District 186 tax levy hearing meeting minutes dated 12/2016. District 186 waiver of school code public hearing minutes dated 12/2016. District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated 12/2016. Tri-County regular board meeting minutes dated 12/14/16. Tri-County bills for January of 2017. All applications and reports. Are there any questions? Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Then item 6 is approval of District 186 bills for January 2017. Any questions? Well, I'm not believing it. If not, do we have a motion to approve as presented?
I'll make the motion. Second.
We do have a motion and a second.
Mr. Runge.
Yes.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Dr. Corley.
Yes.
Mrs. Lane. Yes. Mrs. Miller. Yes. Mr. Beavers.
Yes.
Mr. Cripps.
Yes. Item 7 is communications, but before I pass it to Nancy, I would like to extend from the Board of Education the warmest, heartfelt, happy birthday wishes to you. It is your birthday, right?
And so, girl.
She didn't react, so I
I'll react to that.
But anyway, the sentiment is sincere.
Thank you.
29.
But it will not be in the minutes.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
And yet unmuted.
You ready?
If you're composed, yes.
All right, I have one communication. Dear fellow board member of CUSD 186, as you are aware, due to circumstances beyond my control, I was unable to submit my election paperwork to be included in the upcoming election. Therefore, my 16-year tenure on this board will end in April 2017. I have greatly enjoyed my many years on the board, and have always tried to make decisions on what is best for the children of our district. There is much left to do, and I think the board has a good direction in mind, and I wish the district the best. With that said, I would like to ask for one favor as an outgoing longtime board member. In 2013, my oldest daughter, Coral, graduated from Murphysboro High School, and I had the honor of presenting her diploma to her at graduation. My youngest daughter, Connor, will also graduate this May. I am requesting board permission to be present on the graduation stage to present Connor with her diploma and any other awards she may receive. There are not many perks to serving on the school board, but participating in graduation is probably the most important day of the year for our board. Therefore, I ask for your consideration and supporting vote on this request. Sincerely, Steve McBride.
Well, first of all best wishes to Steve and his family as well. Your tenure's going to end with how many years, sir?
16.
16. Well, congratulations for that. And for finally coming to your senses. Should we rectify, or I should not rectify, but put this in the minutes or vote?
I would say, I would like to see a motion and
I
a
think so.
vote.
And just a voice vote? Roll call?
Whatever you prefer.
Well, let's do a voice, because I think it's going to be unanimous. But anyway, do we have a motion to approve
I will
the
gladly make that motion.
request from
I think he
Mr.
deserves-
McBride?
I think he deserves that opportunity.
Okay, Runge and Corley,
Yeah,
okay.
Dr. Corley had a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And I'll abstain.
Well, we got an extension. I didn't see that one coming. I called it.
Abstention goes with the majority.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, and that's it, Nancy?
That's all.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have any fishbowl items? I didn't notice. We'll start down at the end with Dr. Coleman.
As a member of the U.S. Navy Reserves, I fall under the pressure of the demands of two jobs. My primary position as a high school science teacher at Murphysboro High School and a member of the United States Navy. Both these jobs require a great deal of attention outside of what is considered to be normal working hours. Over my years as a member of the reserves, most of them as a supervisor, I have witnessed the pressure and stress that numerous employers have placed on my sailors. They are often put in the awkward position of choosing between fulfilling their obligation to the Navy and staying in the good graces of their civilian employer. This stress has led to many of these sailors resigning from the military and their support of our country. I have been blessed to not have to feel this kind of pressure or to make a decision like that. Mr. Wilson has always been fully supportive of my endeavors in the Navy, and even with the shortest of notice, which has happened on occasion, I have been able to fulfill all of my demands that I have as a member of the Navy Reserves. More than once, I have been pulled away during the school year to attend to Navy work at various locations and have never kept from this duty in any way. This unconditional support has been instrumental to me nearing the completion of my 20-year Navy career and was the reason I nominated Mr. Tony Wilson for the Patriotic Employer Award, which he was awarded in 2016 by Mr. Dayton Lloyd of the ESGR, Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve Division of the Office of the Secretary of Defense. I nominated Mr. Wilson because, as we members of the military are often acknowledged for what we do, the people who support us and allow us to perform these jobs all too often are not. Without the support of people like Tony Wilson, those of us in the Guard and Reserve could never perform this vital role in the military. And being the only member of the Reserve currently employed at our school means that dealing with the conflicts this obligation presents is always a unique situation and never just business as usual. STS-1, George Mucher, sonar technician for the submarines, first class submersible ships.
Good, he holds you in high regard.
He's a good guy.
And we thank Mr. Mitchell for his service.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this one is from Mr. Hubert. It's on January 10th, Mayor Will Stevens visited Miss Mahoney's class. The class addressed some concerns about Murphysboro and some possible solutions. Mayor Stevens will come back with updates for the class on February 28th. And Starlight will take place Wednesday through Friday this week.
Very good.
Research is generally thought about at the high school level, but this month, first grade teacher Carrie Kilquist and high school English teacher Jennifer Ellemeyer have paired up to expand research into Mrs. Kilquist's first grade classroom. A small group of honors English freshmen from Mrs. Ellemeyer's class went last week to General John A. Logan Grade School to assist in this project. Mrs. Kilquist had previously worked with the first graders on researching different types of penguins and helped them to create note cards with their facts. When Mrs. Ellemeyer and her students arrived the first day, Mrs. Ellemeyer explained how they were going to create sentences with not only their facts, but also by using their own thoughts within their paragraphs. The high school students then each took a group of 4 first grade students and guided them through the paragraph writing. The second day the high school students arrived, they continued their guidance for the next few paragraphs of the essay. The first graders were so enthusiastic they finished almost twice as many paragraphs in one day as planned. This was an amazing experience for both the first graders and the high school students. Both groups thoroughly enjoyed working together. Mrs. Ellemeyer and the small group of high school students will return to the general next week to assist the first graders in the completion of the entire essay and help them proofread and edit their work.
Very nice. Is all? Okay. Moving on then, Mr. Grody, were there any FOIA requests?
There were not.
We're up to item 10 then, which is the recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or public comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinions and/or concerns, the board may or may not comment regarding the public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. Are there any public concerns? Any employee concerns? No one? So thank you all for coming out tonight. We're under section B then, old business. Item 1 is the district financial update. Mr. Grody.
Well, if you've been watching the news, you know that there's a grand bargain in the midst. The Senate has vowed that they want to see that happen. My question is, what about the House? It really comes down to Michael Madigan and his desires with that. I will tell you that we've gotten our general state aid payments. They've not been prorated. We are getting them as we're supposed to. We did get one categorical payment so far. We got that, what, last week? Last Friday. Technically, that payment was the last payment for last fiscal year, so we should have gotten that in before July 1st. But it is a payment in categoricals this fiscal year, even though it was from last year. So that, you can say, well, we're gonna miss 1.5 million, or with that, about 1.2 million, because that categorical was about 300,000.
Yeah, a little under 4.
So, you know, you get 4 categoricals during the course of the year, and we got 1. Even though it was from last year's late payments, that's still 1 out of 4 that we have budgeted for this year. So you can look at that as a $1.2 million deficit we're currently expecting to get. Talked about the grand bargain, the Southern article, school funding reform commissions. I did send you that email. Hopefully you read through it. It really did a nice job of summarizing all the key points, all the moving parts, and how complex it actually is when you start getting into the details of trying to put together a funding reform. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. And then finally, I want to say that the lead bill passed. I think I've told you about the lead bill before. I was on the news talking about the lead bill. Any building older than 2000, so I don't think the general will need to be tested because it was built in 2001. Any K-5 building, I don't know if the middle school will be included, but you're gonna need to get all your spigots tested for about $15 a pop for lead. And if there is lead, then you'll have to deal with the mitigating circumstances on that, and I would assume that would go under your health, life, safety expenditures.
Now, the general will have to be tested, just not, it's a later date.
Yeah.
It has-
yeah,
Well,
it's like-
actually, the general opened in 2001, so that means it was constructed prior to that, so.
Well, yeah, it's a question. It's gonna end up being done in the next 2 years, if not this year.
Yeah.
I guess I want to announce that the lead bill is the first of the unfunded mandates. It's like seeing a robin and you know you got spring coming. We've got our unfunded mandates, so we are in the legislative season.
Do we do that testing, or do we have to have somebody come in and do the
We're
testing?
gonna have to have somebody come in and do that testing. In fact, I got
That's the
an
fee
email
is 15.
today. Huh?
And that the fee is
That's what they're
15 per
saying.
spigot.
That's what I've been told.
Okay.
So that's not confirmed. We will find out. Ideal testing, and a lot of the asbestos companies are coming out with emails right now saying, contact us for your lead testing. So, any other questions on the finance?
Jan, how many of the categoricals do we get during our year? 4?
Typically 4 quarterly payments
So
from what's
we've missed-
scheduled.
What, 2 this year or just 1? 2?
We've missed 2, we should get 1, I'm hearing we might get 1 in June, which should be the 4th one, but will be the 2nd one, so.
First one
But
of this
technically the
fiscal
first
year
one.
though, right?
Yeah.
The
Right.
first one of this year.
Right,
yeah.
right, I budgeted 4 payments
And what did
knowing
we
that
get, well, did we get all 4 last year?
we did, but one
Well,
was,
all
one
4
was from
with
the.
this one.
One was from the prior year, 3 were from, so we did get those 4. And I budgeted 4, and now I'm kicking myself for budgeting 4, but, trying to, okay, we got them last year, and we didn't have a budget, and now we
Did they
have
get
a
on TV? Well, they
budget.
fully funded you.
Yes, we're fully funded, we have a budget,
They
so we
didn't
should
tell the-
absolutely get those
They told you on the
payments.
right hand they fully funded you, but the left hand they took.
Yeah, we know where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
We-
which was more deficit than when they were prorated.
So we're expecting, if we get a second payment for the year, it may be in June. I'm not overly optimistic that we'll even get that. They're so behind on so many other payments to so many other agencies.
And they don't have a budget, so then you start that whole process again where people are fighting for money, the rest of the state besides the school.
Right, and we still haven't received any early childhood money for this year for SIU, for Southern Region Pre-K, and we're still waiting to close out last year's grant of, I know it's over $600,000. I mean, and they're looking at, are we gonna be able to continue because we're not getting this money? It's flow through for us, so, the money comes through, and as I get it, I pass it on to SIU. So it's not a big loss for us as a district, the grant flows through us, but big loss for them. I mean, they're looking at SIU's, looking at all their programs and how we're gonna keep our doors open.
Well, as it gets closer to the end of the year, we're in the same situation we were last year without a budget. Are they gonna fund education? Are they gonna kick the can down the road and give us another year, 6 months? We're in the same.
And that February 1st deadline for the funding formula is just for a formula.
Right.
Without a budget,
Formula don't mean anything.
you know.
Just a suggestion how they're gonna do it when they eventually get a budget.
Yes.
My source in Springfield says thought to look for a budget until after the 18 elections.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna kick the can.
So probably January 19.
Right.
That sounds awfully quick for them. I don't think that's gonna happen. Thank you both for the update. Any other questions? If not, we'll go to item 2 under old business, which is approval of the 2016-17 seniority list. It was enclosure 1 in your packets.
And that has been posted. We had a few questions. I don't think we had any changes to the seniority
They were
list,
just
did we?
cleanup changes.
Cleanup
Yeah,
changes.
nothing, yeah.
So the recommendation is to approve as presented.
Questions? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 under old business, resolution to regulate expense reimbursements, enclosure 2 in your packet.
Yeah, and last month when we approved board policy 5.6 expenses, it says in the policy that we need to pass a resolution. And so we've got the resolution that we're recommending that you approve as presented. It's the maximum allowable amount to be set forth for the per diem rates listed from the U.S. government website for the state of Illinois. What that would do is, locally, if you go to a workshop around here versus if you go to a workshop in St. Louis or Chicago, there'd be a different per diem amount, and the U.S. government actually has a website that gives you that information. And so we're, like many districts that I know of, are doing just that. They're putting in that, that information, so.
Okay, any questions from the board? If not, do we have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then.
I need a roll call on this.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Dr. Corley?
Yes.
Mr. Cripps?
Yes. Now we move to section C, which is new business. Item 1 is the 2017 graduation and baccalaureate date and time.
Yeah, and I've kind of given you some information on that. May 13th is when the high school would like to see graduation. They're looking at a 6 p.m. graduation time, which is a little bit earlier. And the last time we talked, we were debating between 11 and 1 for baccalaureate. What did we fall on?
I'm more inclined to go 11 a.m.
11 a.m. for baccalaureate? And that would be on May 13th. So what we are recommending is for the 2017 graduation, 11 a.m., May 13th baccalaureate, followed by a 6 p.m. May 13th graduation.
Okay, it says here that there's still a possibility of girls soccer regionals and morning softball, but Mr. Navarre says this shouldn't be a problem. How's it not going to be a problem if that occurs?
What do you say that again? What do you mean?
That's just the information we were given.
Right. The girls have a softball tournament that morning.
Mhm.
Should not interfere with the 6 p.m. graduation.
Okay.
Same thing with girls soccer regionals. Typically, that would be a 9 or a 10 a.m. That's if we make it to
It's not,
a regional final.
okay, it's not far enough away that travel is going to be an issue for anybody? Or
We're not expecting that, because the other date we looked at was the 20th.
Yeah,
And there's
there's
four
a-
different conflicting
Yeah.
between baseball, softball. There's
Yeah.
more, I mean, the 13th really works, so a student doesn't have to choose, do I go to a state track meet or graduation or whatnot.
But they may, I mean, baccalaureate's been an issue in the past. I know there's always been a baseball doubleheader.
Yeah,
on that
I
day.
don't know if there's any way around baccalaureate.
Baccalaureate.
It just, it is what it is. I think the earlier graduation maybe gives families some, well, there's twofold, gives time, families time afterwards if they want to do a family dinner afterwards. It also gives us a little bit more time to prep for Senior Fest with an 8 o'clock graduation. It's 10, 10, we're pushing people out the door, which really isn't fair. And, we're trying to get that gym ready by 11 for Senior Fest, and it's just not fair to the families to be pushing them out the door, I say. So I think 6 o'clock's a little more reasonable. And like I said, that way you can have graduation and then if you want to have a family dinner or whatnot, and that way you're not doing your celebrating before the graduation.
I think it makes sense to me.
If you can read between the lines of that. I think it would make for a more enjoyable experience.
There are no students here.
Thought if I said no, he'd explain to me.
Any questions, concerns, issues? If not, then do we have a motion to approve graduation baccalaureate date and time as presented?
Suma.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I forgot to ask Steve, is that good time for you?
Huh?
You make that-
No, I'll have to take vacation, but that's okay.
I knew you would. Sorry, I had to zing you one more time. Item 2 under new business then is the 2017-18 school calendar.
Yearly, it's a yearly thing we do. In February, the board meets with the MEA to talk about next year's calendar. May I have 2 volunteers, please? Mr. Beavers and Mr. Corley, Dr. Corley? Does anybody else have their hands up? No? Did I miss anybody? No, I got Mr. Beavers and Dr. Corley. Thank you. I will be emailing you regarding a date and time.
Is that all that's to be accomplished on that, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, item 3 would be search for a new student information system. Mr. Carrington going to address this?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe excuse me.
I said, go ahead and take the floor.
I believe Mr. Brody's already shared some information with you about the process that we've started going through. Just real quickly, the company that we've been using, we are in the 17th year. We'll soon finish 18 years with this vendor. But they've changed hands so many times, and this last buyout change has really made it difficult for us to not start looking now until, so we're not forced to make a change, right? So I had a group, we started looking through different solutions. There's been 7 different applications and vendors we've kind of vetted. We've got it down to 2. And on Thursday of last week, in this room, we had those 2 vendors here to present both to the curriculum council in the morning and then to another group of teachers, administrators, and staff members in the afternoon. We've video recorded those sessions. They're now out and available to the teachers to look at, the other teachers that were not here, as well as those that were here. And there's a small survey out there for them to say, I liked this, I didn't like this, and if they had to choose, which one would they prefer out of the 2 that are there. So we're gathering that information. I expect to take about 2 weeks for that to come through. Each one of the sessions with the vendors was 70 minutes long. And so it would take a while for someone to do due diligence, sit, watch those videos, take notes, and then make an educated decision. So we're going to take a couple weeks for that to come through. And then after that is in, my hope is that one of the 2 vendors will overwhelmingly be preferred among the teachers. Both solutions will work for us as a district and the office staff with what the state needs. Both of the solutions have great opportunities for us to integrate other applications that we're already using, such as a nursing program or our PBIS programs. And so both those really meet the needs of the district much better than what we have now. Both of them have better communication integration than what we have now, as far as phone calls, emails to parents, that type of thing. And both of them are much better on the parent portal and student portal than what we have now. And so there's a lot of really great things with both of them. And that's why I need the teachers hopefully to have an overwhelming decision on which one's better than the other.
The curriculum council, they brought up that you're looking into getting some test drive.
Yes, I am, and I've gotten some sample accounts for one of the vendors. I'm waiting on the sample accounts for the other. And then I'm going to push that out to the teachers to just let them log in, try it out, again, to make a better educated decision about which one they prefer. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. My hope is that in the February board meeting, Mr. Gurley can make a recommendation. We'll see. It may be that there's not a full decision yet, but I'm hoping that we'll have that decision in place.
Both price points pretty comparable?
They're close. They're close. Initially, I was thinking that there was a significant difference in them. And then what I have found out since last Thursday is that one of the vendors didn't price all the other options that we would end up wanting. Some of the communication pieces, some of the integrations that it was quite obvious on Thursday that the teachers wanted, integrations with Google and things like that. So whenever I add those in, now the prices are much closer. They're not, of course, exactly the same. There's 10-15% difference, but.
One of the comments that was also made by the teachers at Curriculum Council was that Google Classroom might not be as necessary because this seems to work very much in the same.
Right, it all depends on the LMS, Learning Management System. And so both of these options have LMSs integrated so that if a teacher did a classroom assignment in something like Google Classroom or in the LMS, it can automatically be scored, automatically be dropped into the grade book, and then the calculations done. So it saves a lot of data entry time for the teachers.
So Steve asked about the price comparison of those two. How does it compare to what we have now?
Right now, our annual maintenance for SERS is between $17,000 and $18,000 a year. We also pay for SNAP, which is a nursing software. I don't have that number right off the top of my head. The PBIS application, Swiss. We pay for School Messenger, which is our dialing solution. And we pay for OneSource, which is our food service solution. When you add all those up, we're around $25,000 to $30,000. Again, I don't have the exact figure. Both of these other solutions, if we integrated and used all those options, are going to be a little bit more than that annually, but the communication and integration is going to be far better, and the parent interface and the teacher interface will be far better than what we've got now.
And the fact of the matter is that our current system has been sold to one of these two, and so they're going to stop supporting it until.
Right.
So in
That's
3
my
years, it
biggest
has to be
concern.
moved over. So.
I don't want to be forced, I don't want to come to this time in a few years, and they say, oh, by the end of this school year, we're done with you, you're done. And trying to fast track a change like this, it's a big deal. 18 years is a long time to use a piece of software. And I'm hoping whatever we select can last at least that long again. And so we're trying to really.
What's a little bit more, Steve? 5%, 10%?
10%. 10%.
about-
Again, that's
it's
off the
about
top of my
27.
head. I will get firm figures for everyone.
It's about 27, 28.
Yeah. But I'm still pushing hard on the prices
Sure.
with the vendors. So,
I also
you
appreciate.
never tell them this is what I want until you get the final price. You work that part.
I appreciate you
So,
taking it to the teachers so that they have that opportunity, for feedback.
I've been
They've
out
got
of
to work
fashion
with
far
it.
too
so.
long to try to make that type of decision. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Item 4, technical consulting services agreement with our architects.
Yeah, and we've had our architects here to discuss this. We are wanting to go into an agreement to design, bid out the work for, and construct a new Center for Performing Arts, also known as an auditorium. We are
Sounds
going to Marion on this Friday, or a group of us are. Mr. Runge is going, and I believe Mr. Beavers is going to step in for Mr. McBride, who stepped down. He contacted me first and said, "Oh, I'd like to do it if Mr. McBride is." I know Chrissy Miller was interested in that as well. Maybe we'll get her out there on another date to really discuss the design elements and to look at a space and say, this is what we want. I've got Jessica White coming. I've got Lloyd Roberts coming. I've got John Keller coming. I mean, we're going to look at it from a lot of people that use the space and know what they need and what they don't need. And then you guys will be able to listen and to pick our brains and hopefully design a really good one. The contract is the 10% of the cost to put this up. Questions, concerns, comments?
Where are we at with the insurance? Are we anywhere?
We haven't gotten anything from insurance yet. We're still, I think they're still looking to point that finger. I mean, I really do, but we haven't gotten any. Of course, we're not to the stage where we're spending significant money. We've spent some of our health, life, safety money just, on the
This is
partial.
significant. This is
Oh,
significant
yes,
money.
this is.
Yeah.
This will be, absolutely. So, of course, this isn't gonna come all at once either.
No, I understand.
But it will come before we get the auditorium built, obviously.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, we've got insurance. They're going to take care of us. They're going to subrogate against whoever
Right.
that comes back to. But we need to be moving that on down the road
Yeah.
and start getting some money coming in from that, so.
we've been in conversations and we've, pushing those emails out, hey, when are we gonna see that? And I think one of the things that they're looking at is, those cost estimates. What's it gonna cost us to build exactly what we had before? I would just like to get the ball rolling and get some of the, some of those costs that we've already put out.
Why is it still in the state that it's in?
The auditorium?
Yeah, how come it hasn't been 100% demolished?
Because when when the damage originally happened, we went to emergency health life safety to get it safe. And the gentleman that we called in, we didn't have to bid that out because it was an emergency job, was Mr. McVickers. He was very cognizant of the fact that he's coming into this town with people in this town that could do that job. And he was, and his specs were to make it safe. And so he tore it down to the point of making it safe. And he didn't wanna, he could have tore the whole thing down and we would have paid him for that entire stuff, but he was very cognizant of, I don't want to go farther than what the job is because, that's just getting into the pockets. He could have charged us more if he would have taken down the other walls and whatnot. So it was a,
Well, we're still, right now, we're still able to use some of the storage behind the stage, correct? We didn't have to move everything out
right,
at this point.
we moved most of it out, but we've got some stuff.
There's still some of the structure that's.
Yeah,
Because we built that wall and we
right.
put that in there, but
Is there
that's why it's in that state, because when we do demolish it, it will. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, finish.
Well, when we do the demolishing, it'll come down in that big job then.
If you'd like to address that, could I get you to stand, state your name for the record?
Sure. David Poole with Hearst Roche. I think just to add one comment to that, at the time that partial demolition, or what we would refer to as selective demolition, was done, it was still important to allow the insurance company and other regulatory agencies, whether it's ISB, E, or CDB, the opportunity to come down and see what was there. At that time, we did not have concurrence at that point that some of the structure couldn't be reused. Now everyone has agreed. We wrote an opinion on that, and both the state and the Capital Development Board have agreed with our opinion that it cannot be reused. And so it was partially the timing of that had implication into it as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Then I'm left with, I guess, the same thing that Mr. McBride was saying. We're the insured party. Can we not collect our dang money and let them fight it out and point their finger later?
They've, we provided them with some documents, but what they've asked us for doesn't have anything to do with our original policy. It's that, that job, like I said, I think it comes down to, are they gonna be able to collect from another party? So that really shouldn't matter, shouldn't matter at that
Not our
point.
problem.
I mean, honestly, I'm not being smart or anything, we don't care. I mean, we paid our premium.
Yeah, they've collected our premium. It's
Right.
time for us to
For
collect our
years, and
insurance.
we haven't had any big claims on any of our, we really haven't.
We've not heard anything from that project manager that's come down and did the assessment, because his job was to look at the structure and give us a amount that building is worth, and then also give us a number of what it would cost to build the exact same size seated auditorium. There were gonna be those two numbers, because they're gonna give us the first check of what that building is worth in today's dollars, which is gonna be lesser. And then when you prove that you build it, they give us the difference to the amount that it would have cost to build what was there. But we've not heard back from them, so I can,
See, that was a couple months ago,
Follow up
wasn't
on
it, that was,
Yeah.
that happened, right?
And they're real slow when they want to.
Well,
Well, that's what I gotta say, they are not gonna be the ones in a hurry to pay.
Right.
I mean, I
And they're
think
trying to make sure they got somebody to pay before they write us a big old check, 'cause they want money in.
I would also add into that discussion, it's been our experience in the past, since you're required by law to have an architect or engineer do the replacement work, that the insurance in the past, and I don't know the nuances of your policy, will cover a prorated portion of this TCSA, or should cover a prorated of that would have been equal in construction dollars to your replacement. So I would recommend that you try to recover a proportion of this TCSA as well through the insurance.
There's pretty good advice.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I'm glad Mr. Poole came.
Are there any other high schools you guys, everybody's going to besides Marion? Any other additional local schools? Newly
I went to
constructed?
Carterville and looked at theirs, and it's a very nice facility. Their layout is a little bit different. One of the niceties that is with the Carterville is the fact that they've got the shop, the set design, just right across the hallway. So when you go to the back of the auditorium, they've got the garage door, which I want to have for getting stuff in and out. But if you go out through this way, they've also got then all they've got a shop to build set designs and things of that nature, which we just wouldn't be able to put into ours, but I mean, maybe we could.
Build it in D-wing and bring it on.
Right.
Right, you could
Put the
build it in the
auditorium
wing and bring it
north
around,
of
but
the
then you have to
school,
bring it
or the gym.
around, and
Yeah.
so.
We did Jerseyville, when they built their new high school, an auditorium for them. And subsequently after that, Waterloo built a new high school. We did their auditorium. And now Marion. So the opportunity of doing Murphysboro's just allows us to continue to refine and perfect the things that Mr. Grody just mentioned are things that appear in Marion. I think you'll be quite excited when you get a chance to see it. But we will not try to make your auditorium an iteration of someone else's. It will uniquely be Murphysboro's, but we do bring a lot of a high school auditorium experience to the table to help guide the discussion and help you draw out what's right for you.
How many seats were in our most recent auditorium?
400, was it just 400?
Or 25 or
Something like that.
Yeah, just,
Nice.
so the whole graduating class would not be able to fit, the whole school
body.
graduating class, but, yeah.
But twice what we can, or could. Okay. Well, my apologies, we drifted a little bit off topic here. Back to the services agreement. Any questions with that regard, or in that regard? Do we have anyone ready to make a motion to approve as presented?
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Dr. Corley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Yes. I want to thank you gentlemen for being here too. That
Thank you.
expedited and answered a few things for us. Okay, we're up to item 5, which is the board participation on committees.
We've got the finance committee, which is Mr. Beavers and Ms. Miller. We've got a facility committee that was Mr. Runge and Mr. McBride. Mr. McBride has stepped down and Mr. Beavers asked if he could step on. So I just want to bring that up. Is there anybody else that would be, I know Ms. Miller would like to go and see the high school. If you would, I can bring you in parties of 2 to go and schedule for Marion if you
Or I'll
like.
go on my own.
We also have, according to board policy,
I've heard of it.
those are ad hoc committees or special board committees. Under our board policy, we also have two necessary ones, parent-teacher advisory committee and a behavior interventions committee. Now, it does give the board president the discretion to make the parent-teacher advisory committee kind of fall under one hat for the behavioral intervention committee, but at this point, I'd recommend as we start getting ready for next year's handbook, to get some volunteers for parent-teacher advisory and for the behavior intervention committee.
Will they be meeting this year?
They would be meeting this year.
Okay.
Because my idea, it's to develop a student discipline policy and procedures. So as we start reviewing the handbook for next school year, that's when I'd want this committee to really start going over it, especially with the changes with Senate Bill 100 for this year, things of that nature. So if you were interested in being on this committee,
There's gonna be some change around probably after April too, to get the
Exactly.
new board members involved also.
You'll have a new pool.
all right, so do we want to just wait until
I
then?
think we ought to wait.
Can you wait? Can you wait that long?
Is there anything we're gonna meet before they're seated in April? Or?
When do we normally do the IPA handbook? It's the end of the year. April's about when the
Start
IPA
on
brings out
in April.
theirs.
We normally pass it off in May or June to you guys.
Yeah, so we could probably,
We probably
the
won't.
first quick action item So those of you in the audience that are soon-to-be board members, start thinking about the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee and the Behavior Intervention Committee.
I think I heard 2 volunteers.
I think they both started
Something came from that direction. I don't know what it was.
Volunteer or nominations for, I'm not quite sure.
Due to your outstanding.
Kara did
service on
start
the board.
slouching a little more.
Yeah.
You know, Shannon, he's too tall, he can't hide.
So this is one committee? There's just 2 committees?
It's gonna be dependent on the board president's desire. There are 2 separate committees, but it does say, at the board president's discretion, the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee shall perform the duties assigned to the Behavior Interventions Committee.
You need to get with the new board president and explain both those committees. I mean, there's no sense in, we
Table for
acknowledging
April.
that right now, but somebody that's gonna be here longer term needs to discuss that with him.
Okay.
Anything else pertaining to that topic, Mr. Grody?
No, sir.
Anything else from the board pertaining to that topic? If not, we need to go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2 of the Open Meeting Act, Title 5 ILCS 120/2C, to review discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district. 3, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for 1 or more classes of employees. And 4, pending or threatened litigation.
We have a motion and a second.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Dr. Corley? Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes. If the audience